We're here today in Convoy office for episode 5 of Happier Work, Happier Life, where we discuss with Emily Leong, Head of Human Resources at Convoy, about tips for students applying for internships and fresh grad jobs, advice for nailing that interview and standing out, and the importance of keeping up with trends, current trends to impress your interviewers and also just to be knowledgeable about different things. So tune in if you're interested for great advice and tips. All right, Emily, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thank you, Thomas.
So my first question, I saw you recently ran the Finspire Hackathon. Tell me about that. What is Finspire?
Now, Finspire, it is an event. Now, how we first get the name is definitely fintech inspired. So Finspire. Now, this is an online hackathon event that we actually had last weekend over 27 to 29 of March. Now, during this time, we have 150 participants across different universities. They come together actually taking 2 full days, like a hackathon, I would call it rather a marathon, that they actually form into 31 teams where they will come up with ideas to solve financial related problems.
Very cool. So in addition to coming up with solutions, do you also look at this as a way to recruit talent?
Yeah, certainly, I think how we recruit talents, I think this is one of the biggest online hackathon event amongst the university students. Now, I think through the interaction with them, we actually are able to see some potentials where, we are really looking at, how they could eventually come on to join us as summer interns or even oncoming our graduate trainee program. And we will certainly continue to engage with them because upcoming following the session, we have some mentorship program that we will run for some of the winners.
Oh, can you tell me more about the mentorship session? Is it open to only the winning teams? How many people are going to be taking part in that?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it's only open to the winning teams because we want to be very targeted in how we kind of engage with them, how we interact with them, and how we are able to bring some of these ideas nearer to the execution point and to further completion. I think that would be something exciting for them as well as for ourselves.
Sounds very exciting. Moving on with the, talent recruitment, how do you currently hire millennials and Gen Z? Because most of the students are probably Gen Z.
Yep. Well, I think like this hackathon that we have done, this Finspire Hackathon, there are always different ways to engage with millennials and Gen Z because now we can't use the old platform, through job portals anymore. Of course, we still use them, but they shouldn't be just the only portal. So we use a lot of social media. We use different ways to help our potential talents, help them to actually participate with more participation tools rather than just, one-way approach.
So do you have any advice or tips for these candidates to improve their competitiveness when applying for financial institutions like Convoy?
Well, definitely one thing very important, they should always stay very abreast of the industry, especially in the fintech, because if you look at the current surviving fintech companies, the reason why some of them survive and some of them make it through and some of them are successful and some not. No, I think there's a lot of lessons to learn from there. So besides drawing these lessons, I think they have to keep very abreast of the financial market as well as all the regulatories because you will see that, with IA, with SFC, there are a lot of regulators around. I think it is good to be all rounded in terms of information and in terms of, knowing what the trends are.
So in an interview, do you typically ask them what are the recent trends and news in finance?
Well, sometimes we do. I think, through the way when we give case studies, in our interview, we could tell whether, do they read up enough? They may not know everything. I think, having some knowledge is good to show that you are actually presenting your level of interest rather than not knowing. But of course, we can't expect the fresh grad to have, the experience. It's a different thing. Yep.
So say a fresh grad went into interview with you and you asked this question. Of course, if they tell you all these new updates and trends, you're like, yes, this is a really good person. But if they don't, does that necessarily disqualify them from getting the job?
No, I think when I ask about trends, I would definitely also ask for their personal input. It's not just about knowing the industry, it's also how much you are able to analyze it, how much you are able to take the points and elaborate further and kind of put in your own piece of the story. I think that really helps a lot.
Definitely agree. I think personality really comes out in an interview.
Yeah.
So my next question is, currently it's natural for candidates to grab the first job that comes their way, especially in uncertain times like now. Do you think, what are your thoughts on that?
Now, well, I must say that, you have to know yourself, but at the same time, don't be picky, because in a market like that, if you are picky, you probably will not land yourself anywhere. Be very down to earth, be on the ground. Yeah. But at the same time, I do not agree just grab anything that comes along. Now, reason being because in a job, you spend many hours, and that job has to bring some form of value to yourself, which means you offer a platform for you to grow your own development. If you just grab any job, I'm very sure after 1 month, 2 months, you lose your momentum. So no point doing that. Now, maybe, Thomas, can I take this opportunity to ask you to, because you are probably one of, I believe millennials, no, Gen Z.
In between.
In between. Now, will you just go for any job that comes along, if you're looking for a job?
I think coming out of university, I was more leaning towards that way, especially when I thought there weren't many jobs.
Yep.
But after my first few jobs, I realized, it's really about company culture. If you go for the first thing, you might not know that there's something better afterwards. But then it's about, I believe, a balancing game. Like if a company offers you a really good position, I mean, how do you decide, okay, they give you 1 week to decide, but you haven't looked at other jobs.
Yep.
I mean, how would you suggest I approach that? Should I say, okay, accept the job, or sorry, I want to look at other jobs? Like if an applicant came to you, you offered them a job and you told them they had to decide it in 1 week. If they came back to you and said, hey, I'm still looking at other jobs, I want to weigh the options, does that come off as good or bad to you?
Now, I think no companies will want to see themselves as last choice, or
exactly.
So now I always think that it is not good. It doesn't reflect well on the candidate to do that. Now, if you are doing that, please do not tell the employer, your future employer. I mean, it doesn't reflect well on one. But I think it's also another thing. Always find out, what are the roles this job may eventually help you to rotate into? Because I think also knowing what are the other areas of roles that's available in the organization. Okay. Yeah.
So it's about career progression. What's the next step? What does that look like in Convoy? Is it, people join and then is it after 2 years they can look at a promotion, or what's it like in Convoy?
Now, for me, from HR, a career progression doesn't mean just a promotion alone. Now, it could be, an expansion of a role, but in a lateral move.
Yes.
So now, because more importantly is to develop the person's skill set in terms of whether technical skills, social skills, or communication skills. It helps putting the person in different environment to acquire different skills. Yeah, in Convoy, definitely we have that. So I think, probably you're aware, we have currently some graduate trainees who come over to join us in Convoy. Now, they are actually rotating every 6 months into a different role. Now, that helps them to get the exposure in the different departments.
Does that also help them in the social skills and communication, or do you have specific maybe trainings or courses for that? How does that work?
Yeah, definitely in Convoy, our GT program, graduate training in short, we have a series of training, like we have training for them, like design thinking. We also actually have mentors that's attached to them, help them, in terms of if they want to grow or if they have questions to ask when they just started their career. I think this will help them to move forward more meaningfully.
And how does that mentorship program work? Do people get to choose, like, Emily, can you be my mentor? Or is it assigned to them? What does that look like? Now,
both ways. Now, of course, not everyone will get to choose, but because we observe them 3 months down the road first and see, what are the areas probably they need some help with. And then we look at, who are the mentors available.
And how many people do you accept into this graduate trainee program usually?
The current one is our first one in Convoy.
Oh, okay.
So there's 5 of them.
5?
Yep, to start with.
And then do you plan to expand in the future as well to more?
I do hope that will happen. Yeah, because I think so far these 5, they have proven, to be really very enthusiastic. They have actually helped a lot with the different teams they are in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess they were fresh grads, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have any advice right now for current students or soon-to-be fresh grads about the economy and jobs going on with COVID-19?
Well, definitely, like I said earlier, please do not be too choosy. Right? Reason being also, have a very right attitude. Now, why I say that, just like what I've mentioned, the GT program earlier, well, we have engaged a number of them, but during the actual day when we have really on-site program, now some of them did not turn up and they didn't explain.
Oh.
Yeah, so that really doesn't reflect good on oneself. And I think really the attitude, how eager you are to learn and the passion you show does speak a lot.
So there's many companies doing graduate training programs right now. How can applicants stand out besides, I guess, what do you look for in the attitude? And also besides attitude, how can a person go to the training day or assessment day and then prove their worth?
Now, because during the training, we do put them in teams and we actually see their level of participation, proactiveness. And also when we also take time to put them in groups where we have like a so-called panel of interviews. They do not know then was a panel of interview, but it was more of really a very informal interaction. And today through all this, we actually know in terms of how they think, what really, what go through their thought process, which is important.
So what are some do's and don'ts in that assessment day for graduate training? Like what is something that if this applicant didn't show up, obviously, that's going to disqualify them? And what should they do during that day?
Well, I think it's just a courtesy to give a call if you are not able to turn up rather than you just no show at all.
Yes.
Yeah. So the other thing is that, of course, when you are participating in terms of an event like that, please just be proactive. I think it helps a lot just standing out to introduce yourself to the people around. So I think that is what we stand at the side to observe. And also come prepared. Be willing to share your ideas. Be willing to also work in a team to come out with solution to the case studies we give.
So being proactive, being prepared, communicating, and teamwork.
Yep.
So some people are extroverts, so this might come off a bit more easy to them, but maybe there's some introverts as well joining these assessment days. Do you have any tips, or if someone is quiet because they're an introvert, how do you spot that and how do you ensure that they have an equal chance as well?
Now, I think this is, we observe during their team, we so-called a short team building session, or when they come up with some ideas of how to overcome certain problems that we have gave them on case studies. Now, I think being quiet is all right, but rather when you speak, is there substance? In that sense, yes. Because you could just, someone who is very, very extrovert could be speaking and kind of dominating all the time. Now, this is also something we observe, whether teamwork, does this person allow other people to actually have a say or have their input, Yeah.
So for extroverts, I guess your advice would be don't speak all the time unless you have something valuable to add substance. And encourage maybe the introverts to participate. Because that shows, I guess, leadership and teamwork as well.
So both, we want to ensure that everybody have a chance to participate, not just the extroverts.
But have you seen in any assessment days where this was a bit difficult for the applicants to get out of their comfort zone and be more introvert or be more extrovert?
Definitely, well, this is their innate nature for someone who is an introvert. Now, that is something we couldn't change. But I think good thing is that we just do not use one way to assess. We also have like interviewers who speak to them, on an individual basis. We really get to know them before we make a final decision who are in and who, will not be able to join us.
Taking a step back, what is the process like to apply for the graduate training program? How long is that process? And then I believe you said it was rotation.
Yep. Now we started this program since last October, where we actually put online, to solicit application. So after that, we sift through the application, and probably we have gone even before October. But in October, we have an event where we bring them on site, where we meet them face to face. This is when we will actually come up with some team building programs and case studies for them. And
so then after the team building on-site day, is there an additional interview afterwards, or how many? 3, 4?
Yep. So after that process, we actually shortlist a handful of them, where we will actually ask them to come into the office for one-to-one interview. Yep. And after that, we went through some stringent selection. And starting this January this year, we actually bring them in to join us in the company.
I heard it's pretty normal to have the follow-up interview after the on-site assessment day or training day. Do you have tips or advice for people going into the one-on-one interview?
Oh, definitely. I think now one-on-one interview is the person will know that by then we are kind of like having the interest
Looking
to pursue further in terms of how we are going to move forward. So I think the person coming in is definitely have to be very well prepared. Find out more about the company, to not just come unprepared. Read more about what is the company, what the company will eventually be engaging more in terms of the business direction, and also in the past what the company has been doing.
All right, Emily, taking a step back and talking about the trends, what's going on right now.
Okay.
How has the effect of COVID-19 been on Convoy? Are people working from home? And how do you ensure everyone is feeling safe and stays safe?
Now, definitely COVID-19 has been affecting everybody, the economy, the business. Well, in Convoy, now our employees are important to us. We care about their health, their well-being. Now, since January, we have already adjusted our working hours, so that they will not actually be hit by the rush hours and definitely less congested. We have also given our employees flexi lunch hours. Now, similarly for them to avoid the crowd. The other thing I think Convoy has done is that we have arranged for a split team operation. So one team will be working in the office, the other team will be working from home, and then it goes on a rotating weekly shift, so-called. Now, so this will actually, kind of take away the fear of our employees, give them time to be with the family as well, also help them to with the social distancing, and also, working a less congested environment. And as a company, we also, do more than that. We have been distributing masks and providing masks to our employees, and also using the opportunity to do some social community work. We have our employees working together with the company. We distribute masks to the less fortunate and some of the NGOs.
That's very nice.
I myself and I find that very meaningful too.
So, as someone who really enjoys lunch, you mentioned flexi lunch. Does that mean, say if I'm an employee at Convoy, I can go for lunch anytime, 10 a.m. or 4 p.m.? Or is there how does that work?
No, well, you go at 10 a.m. is breakfast already. Now, lunch is definitely, lunch hours, but they could actually go before the crowd come in 11 something, or they could do a late lunch, 2+, So we give them that flexibility in that sense.
Okay. And can you elaborate more on the community contribution that Convoy has had? I think it's a great time now for companies to really take this downtime to contribute to society and help the community recover. So any advice for other companies who are trying to do the same?
Now, I think, first of all, because I think there was a point, a period of time in Hong Kong where a lot of people are actually in shortage of masks, and especially for, let's say, the less fortunate, the NGOs, whom the NGOs have been working with. So, I must give credit to our corporate communications department. They help us to source for some NGOs where they know the needs of the people better. So we work with them, and we also, through our management, they source for masks from different countries. I think, it is really very touching to see our our senior management actually going around to source for masks. So when we have supply of masks, we have our employees double as volunteers to pack the masks. And through our corporate comm department, we actually distribute out the masks to the NGOs.
I see a lot of young people, millennials, Gen Z, they really care about giving back, corporate sustainability. You mentioned Convoy has a department just for that.
Yes, we do. We do have a department that works together with corporate comm, a social responsibility department. Well, I would not call that a department, but it's a team of people. Yep.
Can you share more about any activities they're doing and how people can be involved?
Yeah. Now, I think we do work with the elderly group, like Lantern Festival, where we visit some of the elder folks, where we give mooncake. Now, of course, we are also going green. Yeah, that now I will elaborate more probably in other opportunities that we have. Yeah, I think that will need another session on its own.
Of course. I think it's very interesting, and it's part of the Convoy company culture is giving back to the community.
Certainly.
So moving forward with the COVID-19 and the economy, do you think that there's going to be a recession coming on? And how can fresh grads better prepare for this?
Now, that question I have to throw back at you. Do you think there is a recession ongoing currently, Thomas?
Oh, not a financial expert or anything. I think it's a good possibility, especially with everything going on. I'm from the US and we're starting to close our borders. So it looks like it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what about you?
No, I think Hong Kong definitely, I think it's really a double whammy in the sense because they have gone through many months of the social unrest. And together with this coronavirus, definitely, they are into a recession. Now, I think this is also announced on the papers since end of last year.
Yes.
So what will I advise? I think, doesn't mean that when there's no opportunity at all in the market. But I think, during such a time, it is good for fresh grads to really reflect, take time to find who they are, because take time to build themselves as an individual, to do not stop learning, always participate in programs like the Finspire Hackathon, where it gives them the platform for competition, because this is a way to learn about themselves and also about what others could provide in terms of ideas, sharing of networking and in terms of sharing of ideas and information.
Do you have any advice or resources to help people, especially students, fresh grad, maybe students with no job experience prior, to really learn about themselves? You can say, yes, okay, go learn about yourself. But maybe some people are like, where do I begin?
I think, the question is, what kind of impact we want to create and who we are? Are we defined by the society, or we actually defined by our own values, our own thoughts, our own dreams? And during such time like that, it doesn't mean that we are not working, means that everything stops, right? Like just now when I say, find a different platform to learn.
Yes.
Yeah. Even picking up new skills. So one of the areas I think, one has to really maximize the time they have right now when things are slowing down. Pick up something that they have not learned before, that they have always wanted to learn, and just don't think, go do it.
For me, that is technical skills. So I'm learning how to code and develop. Definitely while it's, I get to work from home, and then in the evenings, I'll be able to spend more time on that. How can applicants demonstrate these new skills in an interview or job application? Because I'm no Java, CSS expert, but I'm taking time to learn a new skill. Can I convey that in an interview or application?
Yeah, certainly, because that will be very helpful. In fact, it always allows the interviewer to understand this person is very keen to learn, to always have this attitude of self-development. Because I think, instead of always waiting for organization or others to provide you with the opportunity, it is actually refreshing to learn that people are taking this into their own hands and taking ownership of that.
So do you think, say someone taking a technical course like me, should we include it in our CV and how should we word that?
I think you could put under other interests or, because you can always do that. Yeah, and I think when I look at some CVs, especially those sent by the fresh grad, one thing that I realized that it didn't really put too much stress on or emphasis on is area where, their hobbies, their interests.
Okay.
Actually, hobbies is not just about, photography and so on. But it can be broader than that, something that you develop yourself as an individual, or even learning simple things like leadership skills, on your own. I think this is good to let your future employer knows.
Okay, so an extra section for hobbies or maybe trainings or courses like leadership training.
Yeah. Those are helpful.
And then in an interview, if the interviewer doesn't touch upon this, should they bring it up? Oh, by the way, I also have been learning new skills. How can people bring it up in an interview?
Now, I think at the end of the interview, you could also say, can I share a little bit more about, some of the things, some of the new skills that I've acquired? I think these are a way to also, it doesn't have to be like one way the interviewer asks question, there's always a time where the interviewer always say, do you have any question to ask? I think this is a time that you could actually bring out some of this.
And then your next point about networking, we definitely agree. There's been a transition to online webinars, online networking events.
Yep.
Finspire Hackathon was a great place for students to network with mentors and also other students. Does Convoy hold other webinars, or does Convoy plan to hold any future networking events?
Yeah, certainly we are still in discussion. Definitely the trend we look at, and because of this successful story from the Finspire Hackathon, we are definitely looking forward to do more eventually on that.
And I don't know if I should be asking this. Can we be expecting a Finspire Hackathon Part 2 coming up?
Now, we will definitely be going towards that direction.
Okay, cool. So going on, so fresh grads, some of them have experience, some of them don't. How can fresh grads without experience make up for that lack of experience when they apply for jobs?
Now, like I say, now, even through this hackathon, Finspire Hackathon, we could see that a number of them actually do not have work experience. But when during that presentation, they are able to show us that, they do have the potential, besides the idea, the way they articulate, the way they communicate, and the enthusiasm they show. Now, so these are also important. These are also what a lot of companies will be looking at, because they are very eager to actually employ fresh grad. In a sense, because we need to build our next generation of talents. That is where, this will be from the fresh grads.
So it's okay for participants of hackathons to put that in their CV, and it looks attractive to HR directors recruiting that they took part in these competitions?
Yeah, I think it's good to write they take part, but in particular, what is the project, or what is the idea they have, kind of pitched during this event? It will be helpful.
And then you mentioned that this is feeding into some job opportunities at Convoy. Can you share more about the different job opportunities currently available? I mean, are you hiring right now during COVID-19?
Now, we have not stopped hiring, but we are actually, we narrow down to some of the roles that we are really important to the growth of Convoy in this 2020. I think some of the roles, I think you all could see probably on our job ads are, sales advisors. We are still hiring sales advisor, but this we need certain years of experience. And we are also looking at, product managers, in particular for insurance. And at the same time, now some of the roles which I think is crucial in the market for our industry is actually learning legal and compliance.
Legal and compliance.
Yes, because now there are a lot of regulators for our industry, so we need people who are able to know the regulation and to kind of to have the knowledge, so-called.
It's great to hear that even during this downtime, companies such as Convoy are still hiring.
Yeah, we are, though we slow down a little bit, but we are still hiring, definitely.
Do you have any advice for other companies who are also trying to hire but have to slow down a bit? Any best practices?
I think, now, you mean for Convoy ourselves, right?
For yourself, and then maybe for other companies in Hong Kong.
Now, I guess because we do not know the next few months whether how the COVID-19 will last, how long it will be hanging around, and so on. But I think we have to be very stringent. What are the roles that is immediately we can bring in, and we know we need this role to prepare for the future. Yeah, because if everything stands still, then we are not moving anywhere. But we have to know our own direction, where the company want to forge forward, what are our visions, and then bring in roles that will actually get ready for the market to come.
And I guess that's one of the big reasons of implementing the graduate training program, because the youth are the future.
Yes, certainly the youth, they are the future. I really sincerely promote that, and I definitely, buy into that.
Does Convoy have openings for students?
Now, currently, students, some of the students who are still pursuing their education, yes, actually, we are running a summer internship program.
Okay.
It is already online. We have advertised it, and we hope to bring in this intern soon in the next few months.
Are there specific roles for those summer internships?
We are still working with the different departments to identify the needs, but definitely, we already have quite a few departments, taking up. Yep.
So multiple roles. That's great to hear.
Yeah, there are.
Do you have specific tips or advice for students applying for the internships?
Now, because there are many, many applications, we receive like 500 applications, but we do not have so many roles.
Yes.
So definitely we will look at, in terms of, first we could only look at is their area of, which faculty they are in, or what are they majoring in. And at the same time, we also look for those who have some other summer internship experience. So those do stand out a little bit more.
So it's good for people looking for careers to really get experience in other internships, and that helps them grow.
Yeah, definitely, yes. So that's why I advise, for students who are actually waiting for results, or, during the summer holidays, please do, go and do some intern work in different companies that build up your experience. Yeah.
And then when students list these different internship roles in different companies, what's the best practice, or what do you like to see in a CV included in the internship experience?
Now, definitely those maybe who have, it's difficult to find people who work in the industry, but there are a handful of them. Now, actually, we are not that sort of particular in terms of which industry, but rather what they have been doing. Let's say, for instance, if certain departments are looking for certain skill set, which means, then I will actually zoom into what they have done previously. So not in any particular manner.
So I guess more on transferable skills and being able to showcase what value added to the different companies.
Good point.
Moving forward with fresh grad jobs and students as well, how can people manage their expectations for salaries, salary negotiation? What are the best advice and tips you have for that?
Now, actually, for fresh grad salaries in the market is pretty, determined or kind of fixed in that sense. But if you're talking about during such time, then I think let's not just focus on salary alone. Definitely, what is important is that a job that you're able to kind of grow, a job that you could learn, and build your experience is more important than just salary. But having that said, that is no job is for free, right? So,
yes.
So now I think in this market, do expect like a 10%, cut, but if something that you like, I think, let's not just look at the salary or the pay alone.
So the 10% cut is because of COVID-19, everything going on.
And also now, I think, like just now you've said earlier, like there are a lot of companies that have kind of freeze hiring. Of course, there will be lesser job opportunities around. Yeah.
But I mean, in that sense, when the economy gets better in the future, then there's opportunity for it to go up more than usual as well.
So that's where it comes. You need to build your experience first. Yeah, because, if you have the experience, you are relevant in the market, once you have built the experience, it's easier when you have other job opportunities that come along eventually for you to then move back up.
So always looking at the next step and building up.
Yes. I think looking more to the long term than, the short term.
Yes. You mentioned that it's not just about salary. It's also about the value the company brings, the training. What advice do you have for applicants to find the right job? Like, what should I be looking for in an interview, in a company website, in a company itself?
Now, to say that, Thomas, I always think there isn't really a right job, but really a job, and you go in, you take the ownership to make it right. That is why I will see from that angle, from that perspective. Definitely find out whether the company, do they have some training programs for their people? Does the company has a career path for people? What are some of the examples? I think don't be shy to ask during the interview. I think, that will help each of us looking for a job to determine whether, hey, this is this company that we want to join. Like just now you asked some question about whether the company is involved in some CSR work, how involved and what's the culture, what's the company culture? Because I think these are important things to, Gen Z and millennials. So take this opportunity to ask during the interview and find out, if they have done some, what is their culture like, and what are some of the CSR work they have been involved, and I think from there, the individual could get quite a good vibe whether you want to go ahead or proceed, with interest. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Emily, for joining us today and sharing such great advice for students looking for internships, for fresh grads joining their first jobs, and even for experienced hires looking for senior roles. How can people get in contact with you and Convoy to learn more about your company culture and opportunities?
Now, first of all, I want to thank you for your time to Thomas. And definitely, if anyone is interested to find out more about Convoy, now we have presence on LinkedIn. You could always find us there. Or alternatively, you can actually look at our corporate website at www.convoy.com.hk. Now, please, everyone, look out for our future upcoming Finspire events or even our GT programs or our summer internship program. We will be always glad to have you, contact us or join us at any point.
Thank you so much. As Emily Leong from Convoy, HR Director. So really great advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.